office, I will abolish permits for mamamboga and hawkers and also reduce land rates. 1 month later, is that still your position? Yeah, and if so, why?
That is still the correct position in our manifesto. The county government of Nairobi receives a lot of money from the national government through the exchequer. They also collect a lot of money in terms of taxes. We don't have to punish our voters. We don't have to raise the business permits, the licenses. Our mamambogas are being charged by the county government. For instance, in the Nairobi Finance Act that was passed by my brother here in 2013, I went to the Senate to petition the Senate against the same, and then I also went to court. And I remember in that case, I was enjoined by several residents associations, I think Runda Residents Association, Lavington Residents. They enjoined me in that case because my brother here increased all the taxes by 100%. There was an increment of 100%. If you are paying land rates, maybe an annual fee of $500,000, you're supposed to double the fee. You pay $1 million. That was not correct. And the law is very clear. The Public Finance Management Act, the Constitution is very clear that 30% of the monies the county government receives from the national government through the exchequer has to go to development. But my brother has not done that. He has defied the Constitution. He has defied all the laws in our county. There's no development. So what we are telling Nairobians here, all the taxes, the licenses which have been hiked by the county government, in my first 100 days in office, we are going to bring laws to ensure that we bring down these taxes. If you're
well, you said you would abolish, not bring down.
We are going
to you changing that position?
We are going to abolish these taxes to mamambogas, kiosk owners, people selling magazetes, people selling biscuits.
You said hawkers and land rates.
Yes, any maskini.
Mr. Sonko, according to
low income earner.
According to a report by the Controller of Budget, Nairobi County collected some 2.7 billion shillings from land rates, accounting for, that's the last financial year, accounting for 78% of its total collections. While some the single business permits which you intend to abolish netted 1.6 billion shillings. How do you intend to plug that hole if you were to abolish?
Because we don't have to punish the people we serve. We don't have to punish the voters. We don't have to punish the great people of Nairobi. I've elaborated that the money we get from the national government through the exchequer is enough to do development. It is enough to expand the projects we are doing in our county. The only problem
so the county under your leadership would not collect revenue?
We will collect revenue. We will reduce the taxes the business community are paying. But the low income earners, the maskini, the poor, we are going to abolish this license. You don't have to charge a newspaper vendor a license fee. You don't have to charge a woman who sells tomato, who sells cabbage, who sells bitungu. She doesn't have to pay a license in our county. What we are collecting in terms of taxes from the business community, what we are getting from national government is enough to do development in this great county.
All right, Mr. Peter Kenneth, a few weeks ago while speaking to traders in Kibra, you also said something to this effect. Hata hii mambo ya leseni tutacheki. It is very high, ni kama wanataka kutoa watu town. This was rather vague, but it suggested that somehow you wanted to do something about licenses. What exactly is that?
I had met a lady called Pauline who had a hair salon with one dryer. She narrated to me her problem, that she used to pay 5,000 and now she was being made to pay 15,000. And it didn't make sense to her whether it was any longer conducive to continue earning a living as a saloon operator if the license is 15,000. So I said we needed to look at certain aspects of licensing. I think where the county government has failed is that in the revenue appetite, they have increased the cost of doing businesses in Nairobi, and this is hurting business. I think what we need is a balance. We need a balance between a business environment and a revenue appetite. The second thing that, of course, has brought a lot of issues is that in the last 4 years, the county government has actually received, by way of revenue and by way of allocation, almost 100 billion in the last 4 years. That would translate to 68 million a day in the last 4 years. Yet, when you look out for the 30% that must be in development, you can hardly put a finger to it. So it's very important that we support business by balancing out the revenue appetite. If you look at the small book that the county government has in terms of revenues, they are ripping everybody apart. You need to think about tax collection and say, do you want to have a broader base, or do you want to have higher taxes which you'll need to put enough resources to collect? And that's where the problem is. Secondly, on top of paying those high taxes, you have these cars with wire mesh inside, operated by county government, like there is some chicken inside, which not only inspect, but harass those same traders who are paying revenue.
That means your time is up, Mr. Kenneth. Mr. Miguna, let's move to you. Your manifesto says, and I quote, hawkers and mamambogas are legitimate and hardworking entrepreneurs who need support and an enabling environment to prosper. My administration, quoting your manifesto again, is committed to providing these referring to what I just mentioned, to ensure that these vibrant businessmen and women thrive and prosper and are not subjected to cruel, inhumane, and humiliating treatment. What exactly do you mean by that? What do you want to do with these people?
Yes, beautiful. If you had read more, you would have gotten the answer, but I'll explain it. Number one, a lot of the so-called mamambogas and hawkers, you will be surprised. Some of them are university graduates. Some of them are college graduates. Some of them are high school graduates. These are just poor people trying to earn a living because there is no gainful employment or opportunity to be real entrepreneurs. Some of them are real entrepreneurs without a capital injection. They don't have microfinance that they can actually access in order to capacitate them. Some of them have no training, so therefore they don't know what to do. But a lot of them do not have the support that you expect to get from a government. So let me tell you what I would intend to do. The hawkers in Nairobi are looking for markets. That's what hawkers look for. They look for people that they can sell to so that they can get revenue. But there are no markets. I intend to build modern, affordable markets for hawkers to sell their wares, accessible to customers. I intend to retrain those kanjos that need to be retrained and retrench and fire kanjos that are just killing the hawkers so that they would be there to maintain order, discipline, and some kind of law and order to facilitate business. To do that, you have to have empowerment, economic empowerment. My friends here depend on handouts that they are giving to voters. I intend to look at the youth, whom I've already identified as highly educated but poor, to capacitate them so that they become economically and financially independent.
Mr. Miguna, will you allow hawkers on the streets?
No, I will not, because I will build markets for them.
If they leave the markets and come, because
they will not leave the markets because they are looking for markets. Hawkers are looking for markets from which they can sell their goods to people, and we will build markets for them. Right now, they have no markets.
All right. Mr. Kidero, you have been speaking about making life better for the small business people, but you've been there for 4 years. What is that you could say you have done for the small business people in the city? Because your colleague complained about the high rates that came into effect in March, and a lot of business people are still complaining about those. Why should they give you another 5 years?
Joe, thank you. I think, allow me to answer the question in two parts. One is to respond some of the issues which were raised by Mr. Peter Kenneth and my friend Mike Sonko, then specifically address the question that you've asked. In the last 4 years, we have not received 100 billion shillings, as Peter Kenneth said. Actually, we've received 89 billion, which is 54% from own revenue regeneration and 46% from national government. And this money that we've received, 56% of it goes to salaries and remunerations. We inherited a fairly hefty workforce, both from the national government and the county government. 17,000. It's come down now to 13,000. 25% goes to recurrent expenditures. 7% goes to repayment of debts, which we had no part in borrowing. Then the 13% goes to capital. And capital, if it is projects, if are not finished in time and they go into the following year, they cease being classified as capital. They get classified as recurrent. So what my two friends or my three friends have not said is how they are going to generate revenue. And even what they've said that these are arbitrary taxes, they're not arbitrary because the Constitution is very, very clear that the executive will make proposals. The proposals will go to the assembly, and the assembly will call public participation. And after public participations have passed it and made their recommendations, it goes back to the assembly and they pass the Finance Act. And it's only then that we are able.
But Mr. Kidero, just a follow-up to that, data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics released at the end of last year showed that 2.2 million micro, small, and medium enterprises shut down in the past 5 years because of inability to cope with high operating expenses, including some of those rates. And yet this year, traders in the city have been complaining about the very exorbitant single permit fees because they think they're exorbitant. How does that square with your claim that your administration has been friendly to the small businesses operating in the city?
All the taxes we charge that have been passed at public participation and by the assembly. In this particular year, they've come back to us and they've said, and I'll give you instances where we had put a fee at a certain point, like the matatu fees. We had to reduce it because public participation indicated that what they wanted to pay was much lower than what we had said. The general licenses for trading have come down through public participation. On accommodation of traders, we are putting 2 billion shillings to build Karandini to accommodate, because currently it has about 2,000, it'll take 10,000 traders. Jogoo Road as well, we are putting 2 billion, all money that has been sourced. And the Kariakoo market is also being built. We are moving the Wakulima market from where it is to the junction of Outer Ring Road and Kangundu Road, so that it can have, instead of the 3,000, it has 12,000 traders.
Your time is up. Mr. Sonko, you were a bit vague about what you want to do with hawkers. There are people who say that under your administration, there will be hawkers everywhere on the streets, that they will be selling everywhere, even where people walk, even inside people's shops.
That is a total lie. That is just an allegation that has been fabricated by my main competitors, especially the governor here. He has a hand in it. But there are markets.
I saw him give you a bottle of water.
I like to concur with what my brother Miguna has raised. There are hawkers markets which are known, which have been grabbed, and he knows. We have the Isili County Government hawkers market, which has already been grabbed. We have the Mariro hawkers market, which has also been grabbed. So my first assignment, which I'll do in an office, is to ensure that these markets have been reverted back to public use. We are going to give these markets back to the hawkers. And we are going to take an example of a country like Thailand in Bangkok, whereby hawkers have some streets which have been kept aside for them to do business. For instance, a street like Biashara Street, after 6 when all the shops are closed, we'll just close the streets. We put security, we put lighting in the streets. We allow hawkers to trade there from 6 to maybe 10 p.m. On Sundays, we will allow hawkers to trade in the streets which will be less busy, like Irondra's Road around Now Stadium. We'll allow hawkers.
What about the ones who go where you don't want them to be? What will you do?
No, we have hawkers market. For instance, in Isili.
No, I mean the hawkers who go everywhere else other than the ones you will have designated.
No, hawkers are human beings. They have families. They're people who understand. We'll just engage them. They'll be part of our stakeholders when we do these meetings. We'll engage hawkers. We'll engage business communities. We'll engage the police. All investors in our great county of Nairobi. We come up with strategies of ensuring that if we allow hawkers to do business, we ensure that hawkers will not block roads, hawkers will not block other people's businesses, because business communities also pay licenses.
How do you make sure they don't block roads, Mr. Sonko?
We'll come up with strategies. They are human beings, they understand. We'll come up with strategies.
What will you do with the city askaris? They will not go and eject them from there?
City askaris, we know there is a problem, the harassment problem, which my brother
No, will
here,
they go and eject the hawkers or not?
I'm coming to that. My brother has failed to address that the way he's being using to eject the hawkers from the city. We have a case which is ongoing in court, a murder case whereby hawkers, city council askaris have been removing hawkers from the streets by brutal ways, by killing hawkers, by stabbing even women who are walking on the streets of Nairobi. That was not the correct way of removing hawkers from the streets. We'll just give them their market such that when Nairobians want to buy new clothes, they go to the business community shops. If they want to buy mitumba, maybe cheap clothes, they go to these hawkers markets. So we will bring strategies that address all these issues amicably, without causing any harm to the hawkers and the business community.
Mr. Kenneth, hawkers and askaris, how will you deal with that?
I would wish first you extend the same generosity of time.
Yeah, the two of them.
Because you seem to continue,
Yes.
and I want you to be fair to everybody, because this is about Nairobi.
It's a follow-up. It's
All
a
right,
follow-up.
it is a follow-up.
When you raise anything that's
allow us
that's
to
vague, I will give you a
allow
follow-up.
us to have as much follow-up as well, because it is important. First, the figures that Governor Kidero gave, and he said that it is 89 billion. Actually, it's about 95. That's why I said it's about 100 billion. That does not, it's a matter of semantics. Even 89 billion would still come to about 60 million a day. The point is, nothing much has been done. In his opening statement, he said he has learned the potholes in the last 4 years. It's a long time to learn potholes in 4 years. And I would like to be honest with this. He's gone further and told you 55% is salary, 25% is recurrent, which means he just wants to enjoy the same comfort of the 2%, which means there will be nothing in the next 5 years. You can make a profit center by just cutting expenses. You don't have to generate more revenue. You can get a profit center. But I now want to come to the specific question, which is about hawkers.
That is a very important thing you mentioned about cutting expenses. Specifics will be useful for Nairobi.
There are many areas. We know the travel expenses, the transport expenses, the unchecked procurement. We know where the holes are. He has not addressed the holes. That is a problem. That's why he has high percentages of recurrent expenses. I want to come to the specific questions of hawking. And in our plan, we want to devolve into 17 constituencies so that we devolve services from City Hall to 17 constituencies as mini City Halls, where each constituency will have a modern market. We know you cannot today kick out hawkers out of the city because they are earning a livelihood. But you can engage their leadership so that when you make a plan, they accept the plan. Another sector that goes with hawking and very important is the matatu sector, because it's where they drop their passengers that hawking picks up. So you need to work with these two, informal sector, business sector, to find a solution. And indeed, they do have a solution themselves when you engage them. It is only that the county government has not implemented the solutions
How
that
will
they
you
have
deal with
offered.
the hawkers who want to sell their wares where they're not supposed to be? Very specifically.
As I said, hawking relates to some other element. The matatu sector is a major contributor to where a hawker will be, and the two go together. If a matatu is not dropping anybody on Tomboya Street, you will not find a hawker there. It is where the terminals are. I sometimes have a dream that I could go to Globe Cinema and Racecourse, that whole riverbed, put a slab on top of the river, and put all the hawkers in town, downtown there, and probably put another level and put all the matatus there. But it's just a dream, because what you need is a solution that works for both those sectors. Indeed, a third sector of boda boda actually thrives from where a matatu drops somebody, that person buys from a hawker, and then they need a boda boda to get to their house. So there are sectors in the city that you need to discuss. Engaging them, I've heard they have solutions. Biggest failure is that those solutions are not implemented.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Kenneth.
And thank you for giving me some extra seconds for the first time.
Well, maybe there's a benefit to being vague. Huh?